The key to a good circle, though, is to lock your wrist and rotate your arm, rotate your shoulder. Now, lightly and loosely is how I want to start my drawing, because I'm not going to commit to anything yet. Right? We can always fix our circle later, so let's just worry about getting down the general shape. In fact, the circle, the irony of it is that it's very difficult to draw, but it's the easiest shape to use in animation. So I'm going to start with a very rough, messy circle for me. Alright, let's draw now some guidelines. We're going to be drawing this character facing forward. So divide your circle top to bottom. And then left to right, a little lower than the middle though. So I put my pencil in the middle and then maybe bring it down a smidge. Somewhere here. Now if you don't know who Kotu is, he is the coconut warrior in the commercials at least, where we see in Moana 2. And you can actually see these coconut warriors in the first Moana. They're on that big pirate ship that is also out to the heart of Te Fiti, right? Kakamora, as they're called. So this character obviously has much of a deeper storyline, and I really want to know what it is. What we do know is that these warriors wear a lot of armor, but maybe not armor that you're thinking of, right? Like metal armor. They wear the armor of things that they find and gather in the context of the movie. So Kotu here has a helmet that is made out of a fish's skull. So we'll draw a triangle right across the top of our circle. Triangle right on the top. And then I'm going to leave some space and draw a curvy V, kind of floating here. So triangle on the circle, curvy V floating on top. And then I'll push the corners, the sides of that letter V, and connect it right back down to that triangle. Now, when we were developing the character to be drawn here, we have to think and realize that Moana 2, along with every other Disney movie ever, I'm sure, but later in the years, they get more and more detailed. So this fish skull is incredibly detailed in the movie. If you see the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. So to keep it very simple, we're going to draw the same exact shape here, right on the inside. First, for me, I'm going to start with this straight line, this diagonal line. And then just mimic the curve of the top of the helmet. Technically, these are goggles that Kotu wears. And I'm going to attach it to the other side. Now, what we do to one side, we'll do the same to the other. So we're just copying it. Something else that we learned about Kotu is that he basically is the Moana of the Kakamora. So the father, or the parental figure for Kotu, can't confirm who it is yet, is basically a chief or a really high level of rank in the species that is the Kakamora. So like Moana is the daughter of the village chief, Kotu then would be the son of whatever leadership they have. So that's kind of cool to think about. Maybe that's how they vibe. But Kakamora, again, are little coconut warriors. They have coconuts for armor. They're not perfectly circular, even though when you think of a coconut, you might think circle. I'm going to go off the side of the helmet here, and I'm going to bring down two lines that kind of curve outside of my circle. You can kind of see that the circle's here, the armor's out here. And then I'm following the curve of the circle, but not with the curve. I want to break down the walls of the armor so that it appears more rigid. In fact, when you're drawing animated characters, or you're designing them too, you have to think about those things. Because maybe Kotu in the movie has sort of a thick skin, right? Maybe he's not the nicest, at first anyway. And his outwardly appearance should kind of tell you that. And who knows, maybe I'm completely wrong with that, and maybe Kotu is really nice. Who knows? I'm very curious to see how the two kind of meet up. Because when you think about it, the Kakamora and Moana were not like the best of friends in the first movie, right? They were kind of adversaries. So there must be some tension there. I'm going to lock in the bottom and the sides of our Kakamora here. But we can also go back and start to lock in that helmet, those goggles. Now, Moana 2 was actually started out as a Disney Plus series. It was a show that they were going to release on Disney Plus. And there's probably a lot of reasons why that never happened, or why they kind of skewed it to be a movie. Maybe the story was just so big that they would rather tell it as a story or as a movie. But there are challenges and advantages, pros and cons to however you tell a story, right? One of the pros for TV is that you have a lot more time to develop a character, right? You don't need to do it in the first hour. You can do it in the span of several episodes. So I'm wondering where they changed. Because again, you might sacrifice the length of time we need to invest in a character. And if Moana 1 is anything to say about it, right? They gave us a lot of time to invest in the characters we know. So I'm very curious to see where they take the story now. Now these Kakamora wear masks. So just below this triangle, I'm going to draw a straight line. It's slightly curved, but it could be straight, right underneath that triangle. And I'm going to copy this wall here of the armor for the mask. So it's the same shape, same line. I'll do the same thing over here. Now where it's different though, is here, the outside of the armor is kind of blocky. You actually want to bring the mouth, or the mask rather, you actually want to bring that to a point. So two curves that create another letter V, and they come to a point. And these Kakamora, again, are meant to be very intimidating. If we could go back to Moana 1, the first film, we would know that, right? They're warriors, they really mean business. So their facial structure is actually what's painted on their face. And so for Kotu, he's got these very menacing looking eyes. He's got to be intimidating. So right here in the center where all of our lines are meeting, I'm going to start on the left, and I'm going to draw this letter U that's very curved to one side. It's very offset. I'll leave a little bit of space and do the same thing over here. So wide U. If you've been here before, the way that the eyes look to me remind me of Miguel's eyes when he is pretending to be a skeleton. It's the same facial structure. So I'm going to bring up two parentheses from the inner corner of that letter U. So it kind of looks like a little claw now. And then we'll bring this right back to the side. So it almost reminds me of a rounded triangle maybe, or an avocado shape. Something along those lines. But the fun part, now that we've got the eyes in place, you can draw the battle paint that you want on your design of this Kakamora, of Kotu. He's got a few like streaks of paint down here. They basically follow the curve of the triangle. But then you can actually add one that's reversed. You can just flip it. But you can draw anything that you want. If maybe in your head you can think of a really cool kind of war battle paint look, you can definitely add that. But to make Kotu look even more menacing, as he should be, we can also paint on his eyebrows. And that's just by drawing these little rainbows with a line going right through the bottom. Because I really want him to look very mean. Because at least that's what we get from him, right? Visually, that's what he's telling us. And we can go back and paint all of this in. Now, Moana 1, and when you think about it, it's so funny to me to say Moana 1 when it's just called Moana, right? But the first Moana movie, there was a villain, kind of, sort of, right? Who would you consider the villain in Moana 1B? Yeah, Tamatoa, right? That's how I always envisioned it too. But who does everyone assume is the villain in Moana? Tafiti, right? Because clearly they are chasing our hero. So you can kind of argue which one of the two is more villainous. But what's cool about Moana 2, and something that I feel like we are missing more of, are just a straight up villain. And that's what it looks like we're getting in this movie, in Moana 2. So I'd be very curious to see what their motivations are. All right, last but not least, we've got just two things left to draw in. We've got to draw in the frown, the mouth for Kotu here. And I'm going to draw a big, almost like rainbow curve near the bottom. So he looks upset, he looks a little mad. But I'm going to add one more right off the corner of it. So right now it looks like he's got a little boomerang shape for a mouth. Or maybe like a little lemon slice, which are actually good ways to think of it. But I want to show more fear, not fear in him, fear in what we might feel when we look at him. I want to show the teeth. And that's just as easy as drawing a couple of zigzags going right through that shape you just drew. There he is. And you know what? You can even go back and shade in the eyes, including the eyes on the fish. Technically speaking, those would be hollow holes. But right now, since he's not wearing this little hat, or the mask generally, we could probably just imply that there's a little bit of shadow being cast in there. I think that's what I'm going to do. Alright, last but not least, to make our drawing just look a little less like a floating head, we try to draw him with his legs. That just takes a lot more time, and it does make the difficulty a little higher. So for Kotu, we'll just imply that we're maybe taking a picture of him from the waist up, but we probably would see his arms. And they pull down from where the corners of our armor meet our guideline. So somewhere here. And then from here, you can feel free to add any other form of visual appeal. Technically, Kotu wears a few of these like little strings and straps around his arms. So you can draw a few there. Again, as I mentioned, the skull, I guess this is, of this fish is very detailed, and there's a lot of teeth, but we'll just add a few, just to imply. I think it's really cool, really unique how they designed the Kakamora. Each one looks different. In fact, in the first Moana film, you can actually see a Kakamora in the background wearing a Baymax mask. Their face is painted to look like Baymax. And I'm willing to bet there's probably a lot more Easter eggs, maybe with the Kakamora, that maybe we don't know about. So maybe we should go back and take a look. The spines of the fish will also stick from behind the mask, but all we'll see are just at least 3 kind of quick flicks. Aside from that, find a good spot, leave your signatures, and I want to have an art show. So I'm going to give you a count of 3, slow count. But on 3, I want you all to show off your drawings of Kotu. Okay? And don't forget, take a look around and see how differently everybody draws. All right, here we go. Ready? Sign your names.